Testing, testing. Hello. Just making sure stuff is good. Let's back you up just a hair. Too far. Man, that wide angle is wide. Alright, I'm assuming it's live, so I'm going. Just checking some stuff. Alright. I wanted to go over some of the stuff I did yesterday, partly because I did some blunders. Despite lots of practice and hard work, I forgot to switch the camera angle early enough and switch the oscilloscope at the right time. So some of the oscilloscope music ended up just looking like normal oscilloscope. So that's something I got to work on down the road. Maybe simplify things because I only have so many hands and brains. Sheesh, quiet today. Alright, well, I'm just gonna go and folks can watch the recap. So I started the track off like this with what you heard a second ago. And let me switch to correct camera. Yeah, well, we can do both. Let's do that. And I was planning to start something like this and sort of work. You can see some of the shapes happening. Like you can see it's not the usual sine waves. There's some overlapping. And that's because it's sound generated by an oscilloscope music app. It's also picking up some of my talking, so if I talk while it's doing it, you can see, something about running Osys Studio and Ableton at the same time. Maybe phase cancellation or something. Anyway, when I'm talking, you can see stuff sort of warbling and vibrating, so if I hit like the bass, it's still sort of, you can see sort of what used to be magpie happening. Which I think is pretty rad. I also used a different camera setup. That's part of what contributed to failures yesterday. I went to a GoPro because it's better in the dark at capturing, or in the daylight even, capturing the oscilloscope light. The current camera on it is a C920, which is sort of mediocre, and I guess I'm just gonna keep Ableton in focus. That seems to fix it. Pause that for a second because I can only listen to that for so long in a row. But I switched cameras to the GoPro so I'd get better crispy oscilloscope stuff, and I'm still open to ideas on how to do that better. I did pick up another GoPro just for this, but the cable actually got lost in transit. I ordered it weeks ago, and I guess Amazon dropped off a pallet somewhere in the wrong town and just lost a couple pallets of stuff, never picked it up. So got a refund on that, but it was too late to sort of get that cable here, so no extra GoPro for that, so I had to sort of rearrange some things and cannibalize my setup. Normally I have a GoPro sort of, you can see it right there, so that when I hit this button on the 810 Mini, I get sort of a nice top-down view, and then I hit that button again, and go back to what you saw. Anyway, oscilloscope music is hard because it's hard to capture, and it's hard to sort of create. The studio itself lets me create all sorts of cool visuals, but it's sort of its own little, it's like its own full DAW designed to create music just using it. So what I did was I actually captured some of the sounds from it into Ableton, dropped it into a sampler so that I could do what I wanted, which was sort of be able to play the sounds like that, which I think is pretty rad. And I did that with the Magpie logo and some other text. Let's see, I got Magpie Fest, and then the bird, the cyber magpie pirate. And I used the sampler to do a couple of things. One, Ableton sampler to, or simpler, whatever. One, to adjust the pitch, because you can adjust the pitch on these without affecting the image at all, which I don't fully understand. Like if I go here, let's see, this one and this one, different pitch, no change. The only change you're seeing is actually me hitting the key not as hard, because their velocity, it's set up to be velocity sensitive on the samples, so I can get some variation. I also have some more interesting samples that I didn't use. I should have used this one, which is the bird, and at one point I did use this, but you couldn't see it. Which is just sort of a distorted version of the bird. And there's lots of cool things I can do in the studio itself. Ooh. I'm gonna hit a bass line and check some stuff to make sure I'm actually streaming. I think I am, but you never know. Quiet today. I think everybody's sleeping in after Modular nights and Magpie Fest, which is 100% understandable. But it does look like I'm streaming, so that's rad. Cool. Alright, moving on. So, I started out with this, for something that's timed like Magpie Fest, and for a track that has a lot of changes like I did, I think I can go for hours and lose track of time, so I wanted to heavily sequence it to help me hit the things I wanted to hit in the time frame available. So it was 20 minutes allotted, which includes your own little intro or whatever you want to do. So I sequenced it in the pyramid, so I basically have it so that it'll automatically go through these sequences. So it'll play like that intro bit, like there, and I was planning to keep it over here and then slowly switch it over to the visual for shock and awe, but I didn't. Instead I got real excited about claps. And yeah, I just like how the other sound effects distort it. And then I did some drum rolls and stuff here. I have an odd number of things because of the way the sequencer goes. Like there's, that's a whole nother discussion, so I'm not going to go into that too much. Yeah, and that was the part of the intro that didn't make it. And then this whole bass line is just oscilloscope music with more bass lines on top of it. I'm actually gonna kill Aussie Studio right now so that I don't get those artifacts that you just heard. I can open it again. No, I don't need to save anything. It's easy enough. Cool. Anyway, continuing. And this is a cool bass line. I'm gonna actually just stop the sequence and isolate bass line. So this is actually the bass line for that particular bit. And I think I am gonna load some of these samples into the rample for use outside of the computer. I just had enough of these images that I wanted to. The rample can do stereo, but it takes up 2 tracks, so it would mean I would only have 2 tracks worth of samples, which is harder to be more specific with. Ooh, I don't know what's going on there. Let me try some stuff. Make you smaller. You over here. Keep Ableton in focus for the most part. Yeah, that'll probably fix it. I also used a hell of a lot more open hi-hat in this set. Alright, continuing on. Resonance. ACK. Line that is the big bass hit is just coming from Cosmo mixed a little bit with that oscilloscope music. Like if I hide that, just this, plus this. to put in this really mellow bit, A, for a breather, and B, so I can talk a little bit, which is what I'm doing right now. And this is just the Mini Log XD, the Micro Freak, and here I'll play it a couple times, and the SEO2 on that little bit of bass coming in. But again, the way the timing works on this sequencer, I've got to add some dead space on the end, so it restarts when I do that. There we go. Gotta line things up. This might actually be one of the first songs I've used the SEO2 as bass in a while. And then I said something cheeky here, because the bass is about to kick back in just a sec. Ink to you too, man. Another thing that was kind of funky. Another thing that was kind of funky is I was using the rample and I was using two different sample sets. Like you can switch your whatever your 4 tracks are to be whatever you want. And I was switching between the Furbies, which you hear right here. So. And later on the song, I switched to probably the Amen break. I don't know. It came with the rample. And that one's clearly my favorite. Anyway, so I switched between those, and that's not really the problem. Like it's relatively fast to switch between them, and I probably could do it via MIDI CC. But I didn't have a lot of time because I did it all last minute. And so what I needed to do is assign some, like with it, it's got 4 control voltage inputs that you can sort of. You have to manually assign and say, I want control voltage input 1 to control all of the tracks, and let's make it adjust the pitch. So now if I let's go to perform and just hit play. Turn on just the Furbies for a second. Just the Furbies. If I hit the door stopper, it'll mangle the pitch pretty good. Yeah. Good morning. Anyway, so once I've assigned those, I'm supposed to be able to save onto the rample, and it wasn't working. The idea is that when I go back to this setup, the channels, the CV would already be set up, but I couldn't do that, so I had to really quickly during the set, like, assign the CV for all of this, which sucked. Alright, back to play. bunch of things written in a note document that I had open on my computer. So I knew at sequence 18 to turn my cutoff filter down. That way when that riff that just came in comes in, you pretty much just hear it really washed out. And then I crank it right here. Stop right there. I used some samples, including some funky ones like this that I showed a little bit on the last What the Heck. Yeah. And there was too many of those to fit in the rample and play reliably, so they're still stuck in Ableton for now. I'll probably pull out some of the Heck ones for use later. Yeah. Alright, back to this thing. So I can play with some stuff while I'm doing it. Hit the stuff. Yeah, Daft Punk almost. Let's see, that was 24. Let's go back to perform and do it proper. I think that's you. Nope. 24 would be that one. Then when I got here, I needed to slow things way down. I probably should have sped things up instead, but I slowed it down. And switched over to the and then break. Assigned things really fast. That's the bass line from Sneak Attack, which is a song I did earlier last year. And then we get the and then break, just, highlighting stuff. Sneak attack. Oh no, I pulled out a cable. Bass, there we go. That's why this stuff was all sequenced so things line up perfectly yesterday. Back to this. I think I used distortion on it too. See, that's what I did last time too. I forgot to change over the oscilloscope too. And I love this really stupid riff. I don't know why. Makes me bounce. Hey, the resonance. Probably should have switched to this camera. I pretty much only play the filter. Alright, so that was pretty much my set from yesterday, chopped up and director's commentary or whatever. Another limitation that I'm not stoked about on the Scorp is the number of sequences. So I've got tracks that have, like I have a boatload of tracks. So if I go into track mode, I have 32 potential sequences per individual track, which is great. But when I'm like putting together something like a set, I'm also limited at 32, and that's really easy to fill up in 20 minutes with a really fast set. So I think I'm going to make some suggestions to up that to 64 if they can do it. Because I ran out of space. Like, it's good to have, when you're doing long sequences like this, you probably can't see that there's a bunch of sequences at the bottom ordered. There's a few good things to have, like including with this one I made track 32 just silence. So if I hit play, it's silence, which is really good to add pauses because there's no way to sort of program a silence otherwise. Also, the reason it's limiting is that I can't switch songs without doing something very clever, like I could leave a bass note on and then very quickly go over to second load and like scroll all the way through things. To get to the next song, but it's kind of a pain, and sometimes it takes a while, like to fully load the song. So I could be stopping for as long as this before I can hit play on something. So I could make a fill or another bass line that's on the hardware sample, like on the sequencers on a machine or something, but Other than that, there's no good way to switch songs because it takes so long to switch a song. Yeah, so that's another limitation I ran into, and there's some more of that. But I also second. Well, it's not the SD card. Like, I'm not swapping out SD cards. Isn't the limitation? I could do that if I ran out of room, which I don't think I would on this because it's just MIDI data. It's pretty lightweight. But what I could do is take something like the OPZ or something over here, like I said, and play a track on a different instrument for a minute while this one's getting set up. Like while something's going there, I get this one set up for the next track. That's probably what I would do in a live in-person situation. Another thing is this is the first time I've encountered this limitation because other like on stream trains and things, I played slower, more ambient tracks or heavier, which meant it took a lot longer to go through a particular riff, or there were fewer like dramatic changes. So if I'm doing something more ambient or slower, the limitation's not really there because I can mess with that more in a live sort of way. Hey, RVHNS. And yeah, so that was something I ran to that was new to this. So I learned my lesson on doing like acid or really fast tracks as a prepared set. Like I'm gonna blow through these sequences really quickly, especially if I've got like sequences like this one that go from this. And I could manage that by, instead of switching to a different sequence, like essentially going to the mute group and muting that all the other tracks. So then I have to remember to do that every time, and it's kind of it's questionable on whether I would remember to do that, especially when it's really like with something like this. It's really tempting to go back to this really often. It's just so fun. Yeah. So I can just jam out on this, or I can create something totally new. Or I can talk about oscilloscope music a bit more. Actually particularly like the riffs somewhere over here. Nope, not quite there. Maybe this one. I put it in an easy to remember spot and I forgot about it. I could have done one more thing. Another pro tip is have an ADSR that has the ability to switch between being a running in a loop mode or a gate loop mode. So if gate loop mode is similar to loop mode, only it requires a gate to activate. So if I go back to this riff and shorten the envelope time, pretty tight. make something bouncy. Should have changed my camera for that. This ADSR. Yeah. I also think I wrapped up my set with this. Sound has a lot of resonance. Is there an envelope being sent to some sort of voltage control filter cutoff to get a little res sweep on every trigger? Good question. Switching camera. That is actually the I think that's the MS10 you're hearing. So this good pal. So if I'm playing just that. I have the resonance cranked up on this one because I want it to be very acid. But down here you'll see this knob that's labeled EG/EXT. It's the envelope generator. And if I turn it off, you won't hear anything because it would just be normal notes, which aren't very exciting. But if I turn this all the way up, and then it's using, I think, the same exact envelope as the envelope generator. It's just sort of an attenuator for that envelope on the cutoff filter, or the filter's cutoff knob. And I'm not doing much other crazy stuff. I'm also, another thing that affects the resonance and also the sort of the subby bass feel is taking the reverse envelope out and sending that to the pulse width modulation, which you don't see on an MS20. There's no PWM input, but this one has it, so I can really change the sound. And so yeah, that's all the MS10 right there. And the MS10 is usually my go-to bassline machine because it very quickly can go from acid to more, I don't know, like, let's see, let's switch over to it, like, make sure I'm not too low. Like, it's really easy to make sick bass lines with it without doing too much. And that's not even as low. It goes lower, and you can get, like, pretty gnarly with it on the lower sounds. Especially if I, right now I have the mod wheel connected to the frequency, so I can go down to just a click if I want to. Which maybe I should use that as like a click track or a bass line at some point. Look, it's not that bad of a sound. I also like the scale, like the octave rotary switch, and I'm glad it's on my Cosmo oscillators as well, because it's really fun for some things to really play the octave switch with the notes, like sort of sparkly sounding. So I'll do that, but it needs two hands. I think that actually needs cleaning because it's starting to wear out a little bit or something. Maybe better connection, but it works better in the higher frequencies too. You can hear it's like out of pitch right now. Also, usually when I program bass lines on this or this, I have the octave switch to either the middle or, in this case, the second to lowest, so that I can quickly make it lower or higher as the sequence goes, without going too low or too high. Anyway. Another cool thing, just because I don't remember stuff right now, I don't feel like guessing and checking. Another cool thing about this is sort of the mute groups. I don't know what else to call them. It's essentially mute groups because it stops sending MIDI when you mute something. But if I go into like this track mode, I think you can see that, and hit turn off this red button here, it won't save my mute group. So if I'm playing this sequence and let's see, let's go to that one we were on. Oh, perform mode. And I mute basically everything. If I even just tap that sequence again, so I'll get it all back. Oh, I see what I did there. I messed up the pitch there. I think I bumped the pitch wheel, so there we go. Fine-tuning knob. I actually wish fine-tuning knobs were all inset and very small, so that I don't bump them. Actually took it was the first version of this set. Well, I guess second version. I lost the first version after corrupted data happened. Let's see, it's close to the bottom. It's this one. And I actually did it in a different key at first. But for this set, because I wanted to work in sneak attack, I put everything in some variant of E or C. And this one, the first variation was in, let's see, are we on the right thing? Yeah, something like that. I think it's one of these. Oh yeah, I just had to hit play. Robbie asking the hard questions, asking if I lost it because the pyramid messed up or because I messed up. And, you know the thing you're not supposed to do, which is turn the power off while you're saving. There's a reason for that. I was hungry, I went to get dinner, so before I went to get dinner, I hit save real quick. Without even thinking, I turned the power off halfway through the save, which completely, I mean, I'm sure I could go in and dig into the files and decorrupt them, but it was just as fast to remake it. And actually, the one I remade I liked better, so it worked out. And down here were some other things I was playing with that I just wanted to note down. I don't know about that drum pattern. Alright, we got horses. I was playing with triplets is what I was doing. I wanted to do like, there's something that I've been wanting to do and I just haven't found the right way to do it with the pyramid and my setup because I haven't spent a ton of time on it, but I play with it all the time on my pocket operator, so I'm going to plug that in real quick. The joys of a patch bay. Alright, pocket operator, I think it's this one. And I don't even know if I have a pattern on this thing for it, but yeah. It's fun to play, so I'll see if I can recreate real quick. I think it's that drum. And this sound is just using the pocket operator controls is like super distorted for whatever reason. I haven't experienced this with any other thing, and it's just one of the default drums. But it's like different every single time I hit it, pretty much. Can you hear that? There's like subtle differences. Almost like there's an LFO or something going, but it's awesome. But anyway, I can do some like really, I think, heavy, cool stuff like this. And I think part of the magic of that is that it's monophonic. Like when I hit one one sample, it replaces the other sample immediately, cuts it off. And but before it gets cut off, I have the ability to let the trail happen. So like on this one, I can just keep playing if I wanted it to. So I want to find some way to do that with this, probably with the compressor or something like that, but with this being the Cosmo. So I want to do something really sort of heavy like that. But I haven't got around to it yet. So that's what I was playing with on that other thing, with this. Right, I think this one. Except we've got major delay and major things like that. What is even making that sound? Oh, maybe you? 13 watt? What is going on here, buddy? Sound the same, does it? I don't know if I got the wrong time signature or what, but we'll figure it out later. Back to the fun stuff. Actually, I think I'm just going to jam around with that set. Here's another thing about modular and live sets, or just anytime you have more than one instrument. Like I wanted to, on that one I have it set up so that I manually go in and I hit the snare, and then I go in and do some like drum rolls, like this. Let's see here. I need to be on the right sequence. Do some build-ups like that. But how do I switch to the next sequence while I do that? Like, how do I do the drop? So that's why I have it programmed in here to play like this. Early. Now playing backwards. That's why things are super sequenced, but I skipped ahead. Limitations. I quite like that part. That update looks really good. Yeah, sequence everything outside and bring it back in. think that's about it, unless you want to have me take a show my screen and show off some of the oscilloscope software, but I think there's a few videos that do that. By the way, my BPM for this track was 133.7, which I think is a pretty good speed. Alright, what else? Let's see. Cool. Yeah, are you want to hop on, CK, and make some sounds? Because I think I'm going to scrap what I got and start with something fresh while you're doing that. Later, Alex. I was also thinking of building some stuff. Like, I've got this old phone that I want to turn into a microphone that's probably crappier than this one, but might be fun. Actually, I am going to show off the oscilloscope software just a little bit, so I'm going to open that up. And in the meantime, let's see, is there a sick bass riff I can play? Let's try just that. No. Yeah, we'll keep that on. So, you can see on my desktop, there's my notes, there's Ableton. Aussie Studio requires Blender, so I've got Blender open with a file and it's connected via the Aussie Studio plugin. Aussie Studio sort of looks like this. It has a timeline, it's its own sort of mini DAW, and right now I have this muted, but if I hit, actually let's pop this out, sort of put it over these tracks which we won't be touching, and turn the volume way down, somewhere around there. So let's keep you over here, and if I unmute it, we should see Bird. But we're not hearing anything because I'm guessing loopback's not set up. Let's turn that on. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so this is the sound coming out of Aussie Studio, and you should be able to see, yeah, it's on my oscilloscope and on the screen. Won't be able to see chat for a minute, but ask any questions as they come up. And I frequently use this mute button because it's hard to listen to that for too long. But there's all sorts of cool stuff in here. These are effectively controls. Some of them have built-in LFOs, which are really nice. Other ones you can animate, but you'll need to use like the timeline view and that kind of stuff. And what I've been doing is piping the audio out of this into Ableton, which I can then pitch around however I want. Pitch doesn't affect the shape of it, and loudness doesn't really either, other than the loudness will control the size of it. But let's say I take this and turn on rotate, you'll see what happens. Like you can rotate on all the different axes and sort of hear it. But if I turn the LFO on and then mess with like the y-axis, for example, and I'm going to mute this really quickly after I do this. You can also type in values. So if I want that to be like 99, you get that stuff. Like I said, mute, because sometimes it's unpleasant, but if I double click, I get back to sort of home base, and you get the bird again. I want to check the chat. Actually, maybe I should open the chat on my phone. Yeah, I'll do that, so that I'm not constantly switching between things. Okay, let's see. Load. Faster. Alright, there we go. Boom. Make sure it's muted so I'm not echoing. I'm a big Patch Bay fan, yeah. And I love my Patch Bay. And I was like, oh, cool, it's the same weight as my mixer, but my mixer was also designed to be put in a 19-inch rack, so there you go. Anyway, one of my favorite things to do with this is actually trace. I think trace is really cool, so if I turn on the trace and turn off rotate, well, what's going on here? Turn that on. Not seeing anything right now. Oh, there we go. So that controls the line length, basically, and where it starts from. But I don't really care about that, because I'm going to turn the LFO on and change the from and the length. And then you get this sort of like really cool generator sort of sound. Combine that with rotation. Or like spin. Then you get some cool stuff. Again, muting it. Because again, it's not the most pleasant thing to listen to the whole time. I also really like some of these other things they've got, like Flower is a really good one. The Flower does shrink it, so if I turn off Flower, it shrinks it significantly. So what I'll do is actually bump the volume way up, change the radius. I mean, who doesn't love those sounds? Like, these are sick sounds too, especially with the stereo. And that's 3, and then I can change it to like, if I get rid of trace, you can see it better. So it adds a spin to it. If I turn on rotate too, you'll see some fun stuff. And that's with all 3 together. Like, this is sample town here. You just gotta make sure you record stereo. Another one that's good, I have to turn the volume back down. Around 16. And get rid of trace and rotate for a minute. Reset everything. I think we're good. If I hit that, shit should be boring. Cool. Grid. Grid's a fun one. I think grid would be a good one to make a sequence out of, because it's really each row and column you add changes the pitch. So I've got a grid of 1, and I'm gonna make this bigger too. Way bigger. That's actually up the volume. It's hard on the ears too, but cool thing you can do with it. I want to do a smaller grid. Turn the volume down just a little bit. Definitely something funky happening, so I want to kill Ableton wherever that is. Quit. Alright, that resolves that. And then the grid, you can rotate the objects individually. So if I do this, I get that, which is only interesting if you turn on rotate again. Like, look at these. Oh yeah, for a Space Invaders themed one, that would be sick. And I think I still have my oscilloscope up, yeah? So you can see the louder I get, the clearer it is on the oscilloscope, but I can zoom that in a little bit. And you can also see, like, this is what the waves are looking like normally. Like, it's very, you can almost see some of the animation in them. Like a mix of square waves and lines that trace out the objects. And if I turn off some of that and just go with a normal Y spin, they all sort of spin at their own, not at their own rate, but like they start at a different start position. So if I pause that, you'll see as I rotate the grid, you get like different start positions as you go. Whew. Alright. Back to something else. Let's see. Do one more thing and I think that'll be good. Let's see what's another good one. Already did trace. Ball's kind of cool. I haven't found a good use for it because I think it's better with 3D objects, which I haven't experimented with yet in Blender. But you can pull in 3D objects. Actually, let's see what happens if I do new. I wonder if there's like data. I wonder if there's a already a 3D. I'll have to download some 3D objects from something just to test out. Because the oscilloscope will do 3D stuff as you've seen with Gyro Beam Fenderson's stuff. But anyway, let's go do the ball. Which I've lost over here. Ball, or turn you on. The ball just does that. It sort of translates this to like the surface of a ball, which is kind of cool with some stuff. You can change the radius of it. So there's all sorts of cool morphing tools, all sorts of animation. You can show and hide things. Yeah, it's pretty rad. There's a few more random ones that are cool. Let's see if there's anything I want to do. There's a live coding one. I kind of like Spiral, actually. Which sort of makes a single thing. But I'm not sure why I'm getting that ring right now. Alrighty, that's Aussie Studio. It's pretty rad. Hard to say because it sounds like I'm talking about Australians. But yeah. And, wait, I don't want to save. Let's just quit. No. Quit. And back to, let's just get rid of that. Yes. And Aussie Studio, the reason I don't perform in Aussie Studio is I haven't been successful in getting it to work without crashing too much. So there's that. Anyway, whoever's playing next, maybe that's Wokas Messiah, or I think Wokas Messiah is playing this evening, I'm not sure. But have a good afternoon. I'm going to go make some lunch.